Hi, my name's John Skippy Limcool. Welcome to a new PlugInGuru video. I'm going to show you some programming tricks. I want to get you guys thinking on a different level. This is not about making patches or creating or editing patches, but dissecting a patch to see on a molecular level what's going on. And it also shows you a cool way to expand these patches. Most of the libraries I've released, and this coming Tuesday, March 12th, is the 10-year anniversary from the first library that I sold. FM8 PowerPack was the first library I sold starting in March of 2009. And most libraries, the philosophy has been the mod wheel, pitch LFO for some things, but for most things, try to make it do something kind of extreme, kind of radical. So you have variations. You have things you can do in the music over time, or just give you some cool thing for a transition before you go back to the groove or something like that. Well, when you do that, you're making a whole bunch of different parts of Omnisphere change all at the same time. And in January, we released Airwave Volume 3, and Laurent decided that because of his DJ background, it'd be fun to do a library where it was exploded to 4 controllers instead of 1. So instead of just mod wheel, we used controllers 2, 4, and 67 as well. And it just made it really cool. You could bring down just the kick drum in a groove. You could do so much more. You could just change things inside the sound or just the effects of the sound. It was really fun. And then I followed up with Beautifully Broken, a library that does a similar thing where there's 4 controllers. Well, because the ESC library that just released and just came out, and because it's made by all of these programmers from everywhere, it was decided for this library to keep it back at 1 MIDI CC. So it's back to the modulation wheel for these patches where there's a lot of stuff happening. But I want to do this video to show you how you can take this from here to using 4 MIDI CCs. So as I said, this video is sponsored by my website, PlugInGuru.com. If you need inspiring patches for all sorts of plugins, please go there. And I thank you for your business. I don't charge for these videos in hopes that that inspires you to want to go buy libraries. So thank you for paying the teacher, right? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a couple of tips for working with, I'm going to show you both on this as well as ModMate, the 2 free MIDI effects that I've released, because we're going to use these to help us out. And now there is on the system, there's places you could go through and you can change these to be different controllers. And if you want breath control, you could say move controller after doing this. And now that's set to MIDI CC74. I'm not going to do it that way. I want to do it this way because I want to use this and have visual, and then I have real-time control over it, as well as the physical knob to work with, right? And you can also see the names and stuff. It might tie it in a little easier for understanding. So I have my Korg M3, which has 4 controllers assigned here. In Logic, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say, give me a open transport float and bring this over here so that I have this to show just the MIDI activity right here. So watch right here when I move this, it says 74. So that means this input that's 1, I want to change that to be MIDI CC74. So that way this first fader, and then right next to it, the next fader is 71. So instead of 74, this one needs to be set to 71. If you have all the hardware at home, grab it, connect it, move the sliders, and see if MIDI CC data shows up like this when you move a fader. And if so, you can use ModMate to reassign things so that I have now assigned this one's 72. So 72. And then you use these little check boxes, and I have now rerouted that 74 is now sending out MIDI CC1. 71 is sending out CC2. 79, because of the checkbox, is rerouted to CC4, which is foot controller. And if you're not sure what these are, you can right click and it says CC4 is foot control. We did it that way because when you go to these modulation pages where you have the ability to see all this stuff, you don't see MIDI CC numbers, you see names. So you need to realize and memorize MIDI CC2 is breath controller, which is right here. MIDI CC4 is foot controller, which is right here. And MIDI CC67 is soft pedal, which is right here. Those are the 4 controllers that we standardize because they're not used for anything else. Okay, so and then at this point I can... Now, right now, these 3 are not doing anything because this sound is currently set up so that everything is assigned to the wheel. So now it becomes the fun part. It's like, okay, and look over here, there's up to 4 pages of controller assignments. And it just so happens that a couple important ones are on the second page. Those that say cut off are to the filter. So let's assign that to be breath controller. That's the second one. So now when I play, now everything else is on CC1. I hear effects and all sorts of stuff. So let's look over here where we have effects. I like to set those to CC67, the 4th one, the soft pedal. So let's go through the list here, and anything that looks like it's an effect and that if it has mute, then it's not being used. So don't worry about that one. And changes to be soft pedal. Soft pedal, soft pedal. Go to page 1, and anything that says wheel and over here it's a reverb, change it to be soft pedal. There's a whole bunch of stuff doing a whole bunch of effect stuff, right? Soft pedal, soft pedal. This is muted, so it's not important. Valve radio mix, I happen to know that's an effect. So soft pedal, BPM delay is an effect, soft pedal. That's muted, so don't worry about that. Pro verb, that will be soft pedal. Pro room, these are all effects. So soft pedal, soft pedal, soft pedal. So now, all those effects are now separated. So mod 1, and then the breath controller, number 2, is a filter cutoff. So I now have it set up so that I'm only using 3 controllers because the effects is kind of smart to keep them all together. There's complications with the effects because if you have the auxiliary send, it's increasing the amount of this auxiliary bus, and there's all these effects here. And if you're changing parameters in here, but you're not changing this auxiliary send amount, you're not going to hear anything that's happening over here really clearly because it's limited by what the mix is. And a lot of times we have this totally dry until you actually move a controller. So I like to put all the effects on 1. And then I put filter cutoff on breath controller. And then everything else is on 1 for the MIDI CC1 for mod wheel. And you can hear now that we've got control over 3 different components of the sounds. That's how you do it. Let's do one more just for fun. Let's go to a different library. Let's go to Omnipulse. Let's say like Black Horse. This is really cool sine wave. Right? So let's look at the list. Little magnifying glass. And there's all these things assigned to change this one single oscillator sine wave, right? So let's go down the list. We got BPM. So let's say, like we've been doing, that's going to 67, which is soft pedal. And again, if you can't remember what they are in the list, you can right click over here and look at 67 soft pedal. 4 is foot controller, 2 is breath controller, 1 is modulation wheel, because that's what they are called up as inside of Omnisphere. So let's say flame distortion, that's definitely going to be an effect. Is that the only? Yeah, so brings up some delay. Now, if we want to make it more extreme, the strength is not that strong here. So let's bring it up higher so we can add even more delay. And we could add this flame distortion we're not going to hear that so much, but delay wheel here. There's a bit crusher, which is doing some things. So let's assign that also to the soft pedal. That's an effect. Now, if you wanted to, because that's so drastic, let's put that over on foot controller. It's kind of dependent on your effects. But by using these two together, you can get all sorts of cool variations. Hear that? So all sorts of things that would be hard to do if it's all just the mod wheel doing everything. And then we could go over here at some of these things like since it's a sine wave, it's not going to do that much. So let's do this. Let's change it to be a sawtooth. Let's bring this down. Because it's a sawtooth with brightness. Now, if we look over here at my mixer, see if I can get this so you can see it. It just so happens, check this out. It's pretty hot to start with, and as I bring up mod 1, the foot controller, that's way too much. So let's go over here to the effects, and what I do in this case is I add an imager, and then I right click and I say modulate this. If it's the wheel, it's right here. If it's one of the other controllers, then you go to the controller list, and here's all the other ones for foot controller, breath controller, and soft pedal. Right now it's modulation wheel, so let's say wheel, and you want to invert it. So as the value goes up, it goes down. Let's say about half. It still has a bit of a distorted tone to it. But my level isn't going crazy, and I might bring down my gain to start with just a little bit. Now I have control. I can have just the wave shaper. And if the cutoff isn't, it's not doing a full cutoff range, right? So we can go over here, look at cutoff, make that even stronger. Good. Okay. So you can pull things apart now and see what happens when I change this. What does this do to the sound? So I could go to wheel, that synth symmetry and synth shape. What if we change those to be breath controller? And now I can just do one of them. You hear a change, right? What if we add this also to be the breath controller? Brightness, you can hear more change. So now you can start to get some more ideas when you're looking at these parameters and symmetry and shape, and you see that they're being modulated. Now you know why they're being modulated. What are they doing? They're adding this body to the sound. If you were to take these and just move these, you can see what it's doing. Now we can hear it from the mod source, okay? So I hope this helps you get a little bit deeper into Omnisphere. If you need help with the MIDI controllers with some hardware, ModMate is here to help you out. If you want to see things on the little keyboard, so you can, because Omnisphere doesn't have a keyboard on this page to play with. And Show MIDI is here. So those are free. They're on my website to go download if you want to use them. Okay? So thanks. See you later.